Thankfully, I've been eating organic for a long time, and I've never had health problems, and my children are very healthy. But I'm lucky to have gotten into this movement before this rash of health problems associated with GMOs really reached a crescendo. And almost every parent, mother, and person that I meet who's newly involved in this movement is involved because they found that their health problems were in a large part solved and mitigated through adopting a non-GMO diet. And it really saddens me that this is the case. I repeated what scientists warned and said that horrible things could happen to human health if we eat GMOs. I always wish that it would not turn out to be the case. But now that we've been consuming GMOs for between 15 and 20 years, we're going on the 20th anniversary of the approval of RBGH, the recombinant bovine growth hormone, Monsanto's first product for the U.S. food supply, for the food supply in the world. Now that we're almost 20 years out from the introduction of GMOs to our diet, we are unfortunately seeing a range of health problems that thankfully can be mitigated and in some cases solved by adopting a non-GMO diet. Well, thankfully, it's still fairly easy to avoid genetically engineered organisms in our food if you know which of the crops have been genetically modified. We've got corn, soy, cotton, canola, alfalfa, and sugar beets. And, you know, perhaps edamame, soybeans is something people might eat as a whole food. Corn on the cob is something people might eat as a whole food that could also be genetically modified. But for the most part, we're talking about crops that are processed and either put into animal feed or made into highly processed ingredients like high fructose corn syrup and trans fats and all the things we know we're not supposed to eat anyway. So when I'm trying to move people along into a non-GMO diet, the first thing I suggest is get rid of the things that you know you shouldn't be eating anyway that also happen to be genetically modified. Stop drinking soda, high fructose corn syrup, but read your labels because high fructose corn syrup is in ketchup and all kinds of things you wouldn't imagine. The trans fats, the cottonseed oil, the soybean oil, especially the partially hydrogenated versions of this, you wouldn't believe the places that cottonseed oil turn up. It doesn't seem, you know, it's certainly not a food you would cook with at home, but it's in everything from Ritz crackers to muffins, all kinds of baked goods. So read your labels, look out for those soy and corn and cotton and sugar ingredients as well. Cut down on processed foods that have sugar because that's probably sugar from GMO sugar beets. But this is a really easy way to wean yourself off of GMOs. Start with the junk foods, read the labels, and then the big category that is a little bit harder is animal products. Just about every single animal product that you eat that comes from the grocery store or at restaurants has been fed a GMO diet. Almost all pigs and chickens and cows are eating exclusively GMO soy and corn. This is ruining their health, but it's also ruining our health. And we know that the GMO traits are getting into our system. Seems kind of weird that you could eat an animal that ate GMOs and then get those GMOs into your system, but unfortunately we've learned from a scientist's report in Canada where they surveyed women and they also surveyed the cord blood of their newborn fetuses, and they found that 90% of women and 80% of their babies were born with Monsanto's BT gene in their blood. BT is a variety of genetically modified corn and also cotton. And there may be soy and other crops, but it's mostly corn and cotton. And these BT crops are mainly fed to animals. So when the scientists tried to figure out how the BT trait that Monsanto had engineered ended up in the blood of your average Canadian woman and her baby, they figured that this is not through minor ingredients like high fructose corn syrup or something that's highly processed like that. This is actually from eating animals that ate GMOs. So it's very important when adopting a non-GMO diet to address animal products fairly quickly, because I'm afraid that is the cause of most of our health problems. The animals eat a great deal of GMOs.
They're trying to pull the wool over your eyes while you weren't looking. Your dinner was disguised. You won't see it mentioned in the supermarket aisle. It's hiding in the boxes where the GMOs are piled.